Hello everyone! Today I'm working on some ears. This is a character commission. Her fur is made up of shades of muted blues, but she has these markings in areas that are almost a molten gold and orange fade, which I want to make with gradiated paints and dyes. I did run some tests with some alcohol dyes, but they didn't set the right kind of orange I wanted, so I'm going with paint instead. I'm going to paint the inside of the ears before putting them together. This will keep the fabric flat and secured down while I work, and let me embroider straight over the top when I'm done. I've got regular stabilizer on the top and a cutaway interfacing on the bottom. The white stabilizer should stop the black interfacing from dulling the yellow. That's a thing that can happen with thinner layers of dark and light put together. The interfacing is stronger than regular stabilizer, so it's going to stop it from wrinkling and hold its shape later. And then I've gone around the area of the ear so that I know where I need to be painting, and it's tacking down the fabric for me. I have 4 hoops, 2 big, 1 medium, 1 small, and I couldn't quite get both ears into one large hoop, so I've set up the medium and small so I can do them at the same time. I've also done the fabric facing up because, number 1, that's how animal ears naturally work, and number 2, it's the direction of the gradient, so I think it'll fade out better this way. It's hard to tell, but this is also 1.5mm pile, which will be smoother too. So we'll paint first and then do the rest of the ear markings. I'll be using Deco Art SoSoft, named because it does dry really soft. I usually just use them for pastel work, but this orange is actually really pigmented and dried really nicely. I didn't know if I would need the cadmium orange, but it's nice to have a bit extra depth. The area I'm working today is quite small, so I don't have a lot of room to be adding lots of colours. But when I do the wings, they're a lot bigger, so I will need more shades. Obviously I'll need a paintbrush. I quite like this one, as you can probably tell. I'll also be using my slicker brush. It's a bit stained from yesterday testing, but this will stop the fur from clumping together. So let's just get started. We've got here 2 main parts of the inner ear. One half is here and one half is there. The regular fur colour will be on these sides, so here's the ear and this is the middle seam where they're going to join together. I want to paint an area that starts around the base and fades upwards like this. I'm going to use this old mailer sample that's too small to mail charms in as my palette. I'm going to use tangerine for the bulk of the colour, and then the cadmium will be used a little bit at the bottom of the ear for depth. Again, the area I'm painting is small, so I'll just put out a dot at a time so that I'm not wasting my paint. I'm going to start from beyond the bottom line and work it into the main area, so I can control the build-up. I'm just pulling the colour as far as it will go and just keeping going and keep changing the direction of the brush strokes to really buff out the colour into a smooth fade. So if I zoom in here, it's clumping here where the paint is more built up, but out here it's just staining the fabric without really changing the texture too much. The camera didn't like the reflective back of the brush, so the lighting went on a rave while I was working, but this is how to smooth out and get rid of any potential clumping. Anyway... Now we just go back to painting, buffing, brushing, and pulling the colour just a bit further up the centre of the ear seams, and try to only occasionally knock the camera mount. I'm trying to remember to visualise the pattern and remember that these 2 points will join up later, so I need to work a little higher. Then I think it is looking a bit flat, so I go for some of the cadmium orange. I start even further back so that I don't overwhelm the current colours. Remember, again, a very small area, so it would be very easy to go too far, and I just repeat the process. I made a boo-boo in the intro. Did you get it? If you caught it, you should leave a comment letting me know how dumb I am. If you caught it, then you're better than me, because I only just caught it in time. I forgot to mirror the pattern outlines when I stitched out the second hoop. I nearly ended up with two ears that face the same way and had to go and unpick it and redo the outline. Oops. Same as before, start in the centre, working my way up and out, trying to repeat the previous one as closely as possible, but also keeping an eye on the other hoop to make sure I'm mirroring it as well. I feel like I should do 3 of these because usually one comes out better and it's usually the second one, and I'm trying not to panic because the paint looks different fresh than it does drying on the other ear, so in my head I'm like, why is this one darker? Why does it look so different? Is it thicker? Have I started too far out? Oh my god. Just breathe and keep going because it's gonna be okay. Hey look, this time I can show you the brushing. I go against the pile to sort of ruffle it up and separate any that have stuck together, and then go back down to smooth it all back into place. This area here doesn't seem to be built up as much as it should be, so I just keep going in and evening out the colour as best I can. I do run a risk. There's going to be some markings coming up the ear, kind of like Rouge the Bat, and the risk is that these will come up together and not meet well in the middle. But if that happens, I should just be able to touch it up a bit once it's sewn together. Whereas if I put the ear together first with all the markings on it, this would become a lot harder to paint. The surfaces are no longer flat, and I'd probably get paint all over the embroidery and the applique. So I think it's just easier to just gently touch up any mismatched areas later. I didn't initially think that the red made much difference, but it really did. It looks deeper. You would need to brush a lot more for the 3 or 5mm pile fabrics. This is 1.5 from Hopen Textiles, so the pile just doesn't stick together as much. However, I am getting a few flecks of just runaway dried paint where I've been brushing it. The paint's a little bit older than I would have liked. So I just very gently dab it away with some tape. I don't press hard because that will stain the fabric, but just lightly enough to pick up any stray bits. Once I'm happy with them both, they just need to dry a bit. I've worked in very light layers, so it will dry fast, and it never got the chance to get soggy. If I leave them too long, the tension in the hoop will start to sag, so you could speed it up with a hairdryer before moving on. The light layers also mean I shouldn't need to wash it too hard later to get rid of excess paint, because there shouldn't be a lot of excess. Did I hear you say applique tutorial? No? Too bad. This is the colour of Vulca's fur. She's blue with these yellow contrasts. It's a really gorgeous shade of night shadow blue. This is Stoffhummel Cuddle. It doesn't stretch as much as Shannon, but this character is very slinky, so I think it works better like this. This pile is also super soft, it's more dense and heavy than Shannon, and there's just something really buttery about the feel of it. I'm going to do invisible applique here. It works well with Stoffhummel because it's so dense and heavy that it doesn't fray at all, and it's sturdy enough that I don't think I need to add much in the way of extra stitches, just a little bit of glue. You're getting a 2-for-1 on this how-to, how lucky are you guys? To get a clean cut, I pull up the excess fabric, put the scissors in, and then slide them down so nothing gets in the way. Just nearly very almost closed, so as you slide down, none of the ear fabric is getting caught in those blades. It does shed a lot, but that's what you get with a dense pile. So we'll clean this up with a bit more tape, and then you can see the way the pile falls and the way that it's cut. You'd have to get in really close and push at the pile to find the seams, and I'll glue that also down later to make them super strong too. Once the ear bits are on, I'm using a very thick, strong topper. The paint is all but dry, but I've had thinner toppers before that really suck up any moisture they can find, even just in the air, and they start to melt. So I'm just picking one that I know will have no issues while we work on the markings. So here's the thing, whenever I'm painting, whether it's on fabric or embroidery or anywhere, I always have this really horrible panic of, oh my god, this looks awful. It's so messy, it's wrong, it's atrocious, it's horrible, there's blood running in the streets and children screaming and I don't know what I've done, and I panic every time, just every time. And then as soon as I lay down the next colours, or the next section, whatever, suddenly it's not that bad and it looks okay. Or good, even. I really struggle to visualise what the end result will be like when I'm in the middle of painting. And I have to learn to just trust the process. So if you have that panic when you're painting, just, keep going. It's gonna be okay. I think this has worked quite well. What I might end up doing is touching up this side here. I would dilute the paint and use a smaller brush. It's more orange on this side between these two markings. If I did this design again, I would probably mark these out with a straight stitch, just to help map out the area, but there's no need to redo the whole thing because I think a touch-up will work here, if I even need to do it. Spoiler alert, I didn't need to do it. Here they are put together and on. I left them out flat in the hoop for 2 nights, as that's how long the paint takes to cure. I then used damp cloths and toothbrushes to give them a little bit of a wash. I didn't submerge them completely, but I did rinse them off. I then heat set it with an iron. I also applied a little layer of glitter because it's me and I have to. The insides are a bit less flat than I'd like. I ended up changing how I placed them on the head as opposed to when I was doing the prototype, but I think they look okay. For horns and necks, and I'll be filming those too. If you want early access to more of my videos, they go on my Ko-fi before they ever go live on YouTube. Ko-fi members also get access to walkthroughs, downloads, tutorials, behind the scenes content, they get to vote in polls as to what they want to see next, and they also get shout-outs at the end of the video. So check out my Ko-fi if you want to see more of that, and thanks for watching.